This is Joel Webbin on screen. He's a self-avowed Christian nationalist. That's what he calls himself. And he's had some absolutely psychotic stuff over the past, 3 months. He's made a big splash recently. Listen to this.
We are going to behave as a Christian people. And what does that mean? It means we're going to ban pornography.
That's adult entertainment.
It means we are going to ban no-fault divorce. It means we are going to utterly abolish abortion, including in vitro, including the hormonal birth control pill. Every single one of its forms, not just the Planned Parenthood clinic in Texas, but we're going to go down to the local CVS, and we're going to start knocking those pills off the shelf. No more human sacrifice. So,
okay, let me just say up front, abortion isn't human sacrifice. But you know what? Even if it is, even if that's how he views it, how is no-fault divorce or birth control human sacrifice? It's not. He's looking for a reason to hate those things. And by the way, the Bible is positive about abortion. It says you should get an abortion in some cases, like if your wife cheats on you, for example. Numbers 5:11-23. This whole abortion is evil bit is fabricated in the heads of extremist nutcases. It is not biblical. You know, I sit here and I listen to these people. I think to myself, like, what is the overarching religious belief behind, like, what's their goal with all of this stuff, right? Like, they don't want abortion, okay? And they come up with some half excuse about the Bible, you know, it's a life, whatever. But they also don't want proper sex ed in school. They want abstinence only, which objectively, factually, raises abortion rates. And they don't want birth control. They want to ban birth control, which again, factually raises abortion rates. What do you want? Do you want to, quote unquote, save lives or not? What is the real goal here over top of everything? Because all of the things that these people are trying to do, these Christian nationalists, they're mutually inconsistent, mutually exclusive. They don't fit together. So what's the real goal? I have to imagine just looking at it from 5,000 feet up. They want to ban abortion. They want to ban divorce. You know, in an ideal world, there would be no divorce. They want to ban birth control, including condoms, and they want to make abstinence-only sex ed. So what are they trying to accomplish here? Whatever they're trying to accomplish, it's not biblical. It's not based on the Bible. You know that verse about not touching yourself? Better that you spill your seed in the belly of a than on the ground or something to that effect. Yeah, that's fake. That's not real. That verse does not exist in the Bible. I was told that verse when I was little. Anybody else? There is a verse in the Old Testament where one guy, I think his name is Owen, was tasked with producing a baby with his dead brother's wife so that his brother's line would continue on in his stead. And it was like an order from God. You need to sleep with your dead brother's wife so that, you know, the line carries on through you, basically. And the guy just wouldn't do it. He kept pulling out, basically. And that's where people got the idea that it's better to blah, blah, blah than spill it on the ground, whatever. It's not a real verse. Those words are never found in the Bible. You can't find them in the Bible. It's fake. So what's the 5,000-foot conclusion here about their goals, about what they want? I can't figure it out. Do they just want to, control people? I don't understand. Okay, so he wants to ban adult entertainment. I don't know where that is in the Bible. I guess, the lusting thing. He wants to, you know what, if they're going to follow the Bible, if they're going to follow that part, they're going to have to ban capitalism too, because coveting your neighbor's things is kind of the basis of capitalism, but that's neither here nor there. So he wants to ban adult entertainment, wants to ban gay marriage, of course, wants to ban abortion, birth control. He wants to make it so abstinence-only sex ed is the only thing available in any schools. Okay? Go on.
Right. So a civil magistrate can do that.
Yeah.
He can and should do that.
So they want to impose this moral system through the law. A civil magistrate should impose this, should ban adult entertainment. This is where it crosses from having a moral system to having a political ideal where you force your moral system on other people. Quick interjection, this won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge your religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video. If you don't recognize this guy, I have a few other clips that I want to show you, give you an idea of who he is, what he believes, the whole 9 yards. But before I show the other clips, let me just show you one from like a couple months ago. Yeah, this one right here kind of went viral.
God appoints some kind of ruler who is unapologetically Christian.
This is like in his ideal world. By the way, this is early May 2024.
And he comes in with a sword and says, I'm sorry, but lawlessness and wickedness will not be tolerated anymore. And he doesn't force conversions, just for the record, because that's another one of the objections.
That is, as a matter of fact, yes. He's saying he's a Christian nationalist, and as a Christian nationalist, he's not going to force anybody to convert to Christianity. Okay, good. I like that so far. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that he wants to impose his moral system on people. He said, wickedness and lawlessness will not be permitted. Well, what do you mean by wickedness and lawlessness? Very obviously, he means looking at adult entertainment, gay marriage, divorce, birth control, seriously, condoms. These are the things that he views as lawless. He wants a dictator to come in, be appointed by God, and ban those things and enforce it by the sword. But he's not going to force conversions, right? Okay, go on.
It's just ill-founded. He doesn't go around forcing conversions, but instead what he does is he forces external morality. He doesn't force a change of heart. Only the gospel can do that. But what a king can do is he can say, whether you're regenerate or not, you're going to pretend.
Bro, that was my problem in the first place. Are you kidding me? He pretends to dispel your or assuage your fears. Like, don't even worry about it. Not going to happen. And then he doubles down on it, says he is going to do that. What is happening right now? This guy is such a colossal joke. You know, I need to bring my buddy Mike Lindell in for some, to add to this conversation.
Now you're an asshole. You got that? You're an asshole, is what you are. No, he's an asshole.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your input on the subject. Actually, Mike Lindell is also a Christian nationalist. That's neither here nor there. The point is that this guy is full-blown, full steam ahead, Christian nationalist extremist, wants a dictatorship. In fact, I have other clips of him saying he wants a dictatorship. Again, like I've covered him before, so if you want to hear like more about him, then just check my other videos on the subject. But listen to this next one. This one is from late May 2024.
If we had a Christian nation and women could vote, then within 50 years, we would no longer have a Christian nation.
Oh, yeah. He wants to remove women's right to vote. He wants to ban women from voting.
That God has not designed women for warfare. And that's part of what politics is.
No, politics is not warfare. Warfare is warfare. Politicians decide when people go to war, but they aren't strapping an AR-15 on their backs and putting on greaves and going out there in the field. Maybe if they did that, we'd have less war. I guess the point that he's trying to make here is that women are not fit to serve in the military. They're also not fit to not only be in politics, but they're not fit to even vote on who should whatever in who should be in this office in politics. This should like draw a picture for how he views women, right? Okay, so women shouldn't be involved in war in any way. Go on.
God has not designed women for warfare, and that's part of what politics is. It's really all that politics is. It's war without the blood. And I believe that the sword has been given to men. The sword is, without being crude, I think this is a fact. It is a phallus. It is assigned by God to...
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic, dude. Really? Okay. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. He thinks that the sword is like a twig and berries, that it represents a twig and berries, apparently. And that women can't wield a sword because they don't have a twig and berries. Okay.
Men. I think nature shows that. I think scripture shows that. So
nature and scripture show that a sword is like a twig and berries. Okay.
both natural revelation and special revelation. War is something that is belonging to men, and it's not something that we employ in our ranks, whether it be political war or whether it be literal war, women and children. So in the same way, and people are like, that's so archaic. You're a Neanderthal.
No, it's not like archaic. It's just nonsense. It's just complete garbage. Like, he's just making this up. You think that a sword represents a twig and berries, thus women shouldn't take part because they don't have a twig and berries. That's not an archaic thing. That's just you're a dumb thing. Sorry, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to do that. It's just, you know what? I'll let Greg Locke do it for me.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your input on the subject.
So, primitive and chauvinistic, you won't let women vote? Well, our society doesn't let 5-year-olds vote yet. I pray that it, that.
Yeah, I get. Is he saying that 5-year-olds are the intellectual match for women, or vice versa? They're like children in their heads. Says all kinds of weird things about how he views his wife, right?
Society doesn't let 5-year-olds vote yet. I pray that it, that it stays that way. But we don't let children. Yes. We don't let children vote, and it's not just because of competency, because that would be the immediate counter as well. But their brain isn't fully developed, and so are you saying that a woman is like a child? Yes, but not intellectually. I'm not saying that.
But what? You're not saying that? Then in what way could they possibly be comparable?
That the question is how? In what way is a woman like a child? She is like a child in the way that God has appointed men to protect them.
Okay, so she needs protection. Fine, let's just go with that for 1 second. What does that have to do with, mental competence? Why does he think that she is not mentally competent enough to vote if she just needs protection, physical protection, in his mind? I don't understand. Oh, and by the way, we don't need physical protectors in society anymore because we've put together a group of people who do the physical protection. It's called the police, the National Guard, and then the military. You, as a man, don't need to strap your revolver on your waist every time you go to Walmart. And yeah, I see that constantly, or I used to, when I lived in West Virginia. It's like these people are convinced that societal collapse is right around the corner, and they have to be prepared for it. It's insane. It is insane. Get a grip on reality, people, please. Oh, and by the way, isn't a gun called a great equalizer? Can't women defend themselves in his head if they have a gun? So it's not about protection. He's not saying they're like 5-year-olds and that they have to be protected so they can't be in the military, because they're just as powerful as any man in the military if they both have guns, right? Why is he weaseling his way around this? Just come out and say it. You think women have the brains of a 5-year-old? Seriously, think about how he views his wife if he's coming out and saying this about women. Quick interjection. This won't take long, I promise. I just want to say I'd appreciate it if you check my Patreon. OwenMorgan.com/Patreon to find it. YouTube's algorithm goes up and down, so I can never predict where it's going to be. Having patrons gives me some level of stability. Okay, back to the video. Yeah, check this next clip out. This is him discussing women and Trump and other things with this guy right here. This is Jeremy Carl. I believe that they're both pastors, both these guys. This is a little bit of a longer clip, but they kind of really dive into their viewpoints on different things. So give this a listen. By the way, love his microphone. Same microphone as me, apparently.
I think the right sometimes is just too committed to being beautiful losers. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean. By the way, this is late May 2024.
And Christians, evangelicals especially, like Trump. He wouldn't be an elder in my church. I'm not even sure if he'd be able to pass a membership interview. But he will have my vote. And I make and not even with my nose plugged. I will vote for Trump, and I'll sleep really well that night. And be just fine with a clear conscience before the Lord. knowing that I don't idolize Trump, I don't worship Trump. I'm not even sure if he's a brother in Christ. I hope he is, but
Right.
but I
Yeah, I don't think he's not a brother in Christ, quote unquote. I honestly think Trump is the United States' first atheist president, unless one of them was lying in the past. Like if Obama was lying and he's really an atheist, I suppose that's possible. Donald Trump is most definitely not a Christian. Donald Trump is out for Donald Trump and nothing else. I talked about this in another clip recently, but Trump has been asked, Christian questions throughout his time, throughout his years in the public spotlight. And a while back, he's asked, what is your favorite Bible verse? And he said, this is too personal, not getting into it. I don't want to talk about it. They said, okay, well, are you a New Testament man or an Old Testament man? That question was meant to draw out if he's like fire and brimstone, angry, vengeance, violence, hate, or if he's peace and love, happiness, so on and so forth. New Testament is all about loving your fellow man, love your neighbor as yourself, take care of the poor and all that. Old Testament is more genocidal, hate everybody. If you don't follow your parents' instructions, you'll be stoned to death, so on and so forth. So by asking, are you a New Testament man or an Old Testament man, they're trying to gauge his personality. And what did Trump say? A little bit of both, I'd say. Has the guy literally in his life ever read one Bible verse? Here you go. This clip is from 2016. I think this is like right before he won the election.
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book. And you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that.
Actually, he said his book, The Art of the Deal, is his second favorite book, second only to the Bible, or something to that effect. He didn't even write The Art of the Deal. It was a ghostwriter that wrote it for him.
Wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. When I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into...
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like?
No, I don't want to.
Look, if the Bible means a lot to you, generally, you can't shut up about it. And if it means literally anything to you, then you have a favorite verse. I have a favorite verse. I'm atheist. My favorite verse is Deuteronomy 18:22. It says something to the effect of, how will we know that a prophet is lying, that they're not a true prophet? And God says, basically, you'll know that they're not a real prophet if what they said does not come to pass. You should not fear them anymore. Or something like that. That verse has helped many people come to terms with Jehovah's Witnesses, me included, and their false prophecies. It's helped a lot of people realize that Jehovah's Witnesses is just full of it. So as an atheist, I have a favorite Bible verse. What is Trump's? If he's such a true believer, I don't know that he's ever touched a Bible. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, maybe he was in a hotel room once that had a Bible in the nightstand, and he moved that Bible over to put his gold watch and gold rings and stuff in the drawer. But I'm thinking, like, has he ever even stayed in a hotel? I'm not sure.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal.
There is no equal.
I think it's just the whole Bible is an incredible. I joke very much so. They always hold up The Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time.
This is dumb as dog. This whole thing is so f***ing stupid. I'm sorry, man. He's full of it. He's a liar. I'm sorry, getting off track here with this, but it's just ridiculous. And then there's that clip fairly recently where Donald Trump was asked, how do you pray? And his answer was basically, other people do it for me. This is early June 2024.
What's your relationship with God like, and how do you pray? That's Sharon from Alabama.
Okay, so I think it's good. I do very well with the evangelicals. I love the evangelicals.
Is he telling us how he prays right now?
And I have more people saying they pray for me. I can't even believe it.
There you go. He has a guy do it for him. That's how he prays. Point is, Trump is not religious at all. But let's keep listening to Joel Webbin talk about how he's going to vote for Donald Trump and he's going to do it with a clear conscience and sleep well at night.
I wouldn't bet my house on it.
Right.
But I think that the people on the right, and especially Christians on the right, are unable to think. They're unable to categorize. They struggle with political theology versus soteriology, or something, and it's just
Soteriology, what is that? Soteriology is the study of religious doctrines of salvation. Salvation theory occupies a place of special significance in many religions. Okay, one more time.
They struggle with political theology versus soteriology,
So they struggle with political theology versus religious doctrine of salvation. I don't understand what he's saying here. Is he just trying to use big words? It sounds like that's what he's doing.
Versus soteriology, or something, and it's just, and that the outcome is just beautiful losers. It's going down with the ship, while standing in a salute, and just.
That's not how the American salute is done. Why did he do that? It's all four fingers.
And just face of flint, and what do you think about using, so the concept, no enemies on the right, maybe not to the, but on the right.
Right.
And I think of, the things that I can say today, if I had said these things in 2017, it's over. I would have been, and the point that you made,
Yeah, that's true. I think one of the more detrimental effects of Donald Trump's presidency that may be a little bit underappreciated is that he normalized being a scumbag. Donald Trump did. It's okay to be a scumbag now. People are more comfortable being pieces of trash to others. And that's really disappointing. So as this guy says, he wouldn't have felt comfortable saying he wants to, force women to stop voting. He wants to force a dictator to take control and install a Christian nationalist state, so on and so forth. He wouldn't have been comfortable saying that in 2017, but today it's perfectly acceptable. That is really disappointing for the United States, for the political atmosphere that we're in today. Oh, one more thing. I mean, I don't know if this is made clear by the fact that he said he wants a dictator, but he actually openly says that he does not like democracy. Democracy is stupid and we shouldn't have it.
When you started the book 2 years ago, you were pretty nervous. When it came closer to publication, you're like, hey, this might land okay. And then it landed better than okay, it sounds like. Sure, you'll get pushback, but there's been a large positive reception. And so things have been moved. But part of the reason they've been moving is because of your strategic radicals. The left has them. The right has them. You don't have to agree with them. So I'm not saying somebody says something and you have to retweet them and say, somebody says Adolf Hitler.
So what he's saying here, I use the words radical and extremist differently, and I suspect he's using them the same way that I use them. When I say radical, I mean somebody who's outside of the political norm. And as an example, I would say people who were opposed to slavery, abolitionists, were radicals at one time in American history. They were radicals. That's the correct position. So being radical isn't always wrong. It's just they're not within that window of acceptable public discourse, the Overton window. Extremists are people who are willing to get violent to accomplish their ends, their goals, religious goals or their political goals or their whatever goals. This guy is both a radical and an extremist. So he thinks that strategic radicals placed in strategic locations in government are what has led to Christian nationalism being normalized, I think is what he's saying.
And say, somebody says Adolf Hitler was the last Christian prince. Yeah, right. I agree. You don't have to do that.
Right.
But the right, I feel like we shoot our own.
Yeah.
Far more than the left.
Was he saying that Hitler was a good guy? Am I misunderstanding what this guy just said? I feel like that's what he's trying to communicate. Aside from that, it wasn't always like this, what he's describing, where the right, shoots at their own and the left doesn't. It was the other way around in 2014, 2015, 2016. I remember I was watching and I kept thinking to myself, why is the left constantly at each other's throats and the right is not? Now the Republican Party is being torn in two because half of them don't like Donald Trump and the other half do like Trump. And Trump is trying to accelerate that. He's trying to force the party to split in half or to be under his direct control, one or the other. And until Trump is out of the picture, the Republican Party is going to have this monkey on its back. The Republican Party lost the elections in 2018, the midterm elections, by and large. They lost the 2020 election. They lost the 2022 election. And after that, every time a referendum went up in every state to determine if abortion should be allowed in that state, it was always, always, always voted, yes, abortion should be allowed. Republicans are losing hand over fist right now. And I believe that's primarily because of Donald Trump.
Any thoughts on that? That no enemies on the right kind of political strategy and idea?
No, I absolutely agree. And you cited the phrase beautiful losers a couple times, and perhaps not coincidentally, it's a
I don't even know what that means.
Title of a book of essays by Sam Francis, who was a really powerful conservative political theorist who had a lot of stuff that was outside the Overton window, not even all of which I agreed with, but...
Yeah, Overton window. So he was a radical is what he was saying. He didn't even agree with all his radicalism, apparently.
A person who 30 years ago in that book really kind of diagnosed a lot of the problems that conservatives had, their lack of fighting spirit, their kind of fixation on essentially being beautiful losers. And the subtitle of that was Essays on the Failure of American Conservatism. So to write that book in 1992 and unbelievably kind of published by a mainstream university press at the time that he wrote it was indicative that the right has had this problem for quite a while.
Not really. The right was really, really united for many years until Trump tore it in half. Anyway, it's just insane. These people are insane. And they're looking for a reason, looking for an excuse to install a dictator. We must vote these people out. We must shoot this down, this idea of Christian nationalism. We need to kill it in its crib, not allow it to spread any further than it already has. For what it's worth, though, I don't want you to feel down about this. The evangelical voting bloc makes up about 15% of the country. Okay, 15% are pulling strings and have an oversized influence on politics. It's only 15%. The reason that they have more authority, more power than most people is, or at least ostensibly the way it looks, is because they're organized and they're activated. They have the Templeton Foundation, they have the Heritage Foundation, a whole bunch of other big, influential think tanks that are writing bills for congressmen and they're handing them down. Oh yeah, and they play dirty. They're willing to step on people's faces, cut throats, do whatever it takes to get ahead. They will gerrymander, they will lie, manipulate, whatever it takes to get ahead of their opponents. It's a strategy thing. I'm not willing to do that. I personally want to live in a world where the justice system is not weaponized against political enemies. And that's how the Democrats have done it up to now. They have not weaponized the justice system. But Donald Trump and other Republicans have been advocating for attacking their enemies using the justice system since day one. So anyway, it's a strategy thing. I'm not willing to be a scumbag, and these people are. Anyway, tell me what you think about this in the comments. These people are nuts, man.